If you are ready, we can dive into a topic that is reshaping how we resolve conflicts. That topic is alternate dispute resolution or ADR. Whether it's business disputes, family disagreements, or even international trade conflicts, alternate dispute resolutions or ADR is offering a faster, cost-effective, and less adversarial solutions than traditional courts. So what exactly is ADR? In simple terms, it is a range of methods used to resolve disputes outside the courtroom. These are methods designed to save time, money, and perhaps most importantly, relationships. So what are the things which comes under the ADR? ADR includes processes like first negotiation, second mediation, third conciliation, 4 arbitration, 5 lok-adalats. So negotiation, mediation, conciliation, arbitration and lok-adalats are the processes which comes under ADR, alternate dispute resolution. Today we will walk you through each method, their unique features, differences and examples to help you understand when and how to use them. So let's start with the first process which comes under the ADR, that is negotiation. Negotiation is the simplest and most informal form of ADR. Imagine two people in a disagreement, and instead of rushing to the court, they sit down, they have a discussion, and then they work out a solution themselves. That is negotiation. The beauty of negotiation lies in its flexibility and cost effectiveness. However, it requires both parties to be willing to compromise, which might not always happen. So what is the example? Let's say there are two persons. One person is Ravi, the second person is Manoj. They have a disagreement between themselves. So they can actually go to the court, right? But they are not planning to do so. They try to settle their disputes between themselves. So that is actually negotiation. Now, if you understand negotiation, as I said, negotiation is the most simplest method of alternate dispute resolution. If you know what is negotiation, it will be very easy to understand mediation. So now, a mediation, a third person comes in between. In negotiation, only two persons are there. So what is mediation? In mediation is a step up in terms of its structure. In mediation, a neutral third party, known as the mediator, helps in disputing parties communicate and find a common ground. So, in the previous example, there is Ravi, there is Manoj. There are no other parties, right? But in case of mediation, there will be a third party. Let's say the third party's name is Prakash. The Prakash comes in as the mediator. The mediator does not make decisions in mediation, okay? The mediator does not make any decisions. Instead, he or she will guide the conversation, ensuring everyone is heard. Mediation is especially useful when maintaining relationships are important, like in family or workplace disputes. As in the case, let's say Ravi and Manoj, they disagree over some project responsibilities. As a mediator, Prakash could help them resolve their issues and move forward collaboratively. I hope you now know the two processes. One is negotiation, second is mediation. Now we are moving forward to the third alternate dispute resolution process, that is conciliation. So what is conciliation? So just understand this. Negotiation involves only two persons, the two disputing parties. But other mechanisms or other processes which we discuss, like mediation, conciliation, arbitration or lok-adalat, it involves a third party. there will be a third party. We can consider that as a neutral third party, but a third party will be there. So in conciliation is also very similar to mediation, but there will be a third party. And but there is a twist. So what is the twist? The conciliator plays a more active role here. In case of mediation, the mediator does not play a very active role. But a conciliator plays a very active role. The mediator does not give any suggestions, but the conciliator does. The conciliator listens to both sides and suggests possible solutions. That is the difference here. Okay. So this is often used in labor and consumer disputes. For example, we can even take the previous example also, where we have Ravi, we have Manoj, Prakash is the conciliator, but in their dispute, the Prakash will usually give possible solutions. He will suggest possible solutions. It's up to Ravi or Manoj to take it, but Prakash will give possible solutions. Let's say they have a dispute. We can think of another example. In this example, a customer bought a defective product. He can use conciliation. Maybe with the help of a consumer protection agency, he can use conciliation as a method to resolve a consumer dispute. The difference between mediation and conciliation is that in mediation, parties come up with solution. The parties themselves come up with the solution. In conciliation, the third party suggests a solution. I hope you have understood the first three mechanisms of alternate dispute resolutions. Now let's look at the fourth one, that is arbitration. So what is arbitration? Arbitration is more formal. That is the main thing. When compared to negotiation, conciliation, mediation, arbitration is more formal. Here, both parties present their case to an arbitrator. Much like a court sitting. It will be similar to a court sitting. We can call it a private court or something like that, but it will be similar to a court sitting. The arbitrator then makes a binding decision. The neutral third party, the arbitrator, here makes a binding decision. That does not happen in the other scenarios. The arbitration is commonly used in commercial disputes. The same case we can think of, like there can be Ravi or there can be Manoj and the Prakash can act as the arbitrator. But in this case, the arbitrator himself takes the decision just like a judge, and his decision is binding. And usually this is applied in commercial disputes. If the contract says that if there is a dispute, we should go for arbitration, then arbitration is applied in case of commercial disputes. For example, if a company and a supplier disagree over a contract, arbitration can provide a quicker, binding resolution compared to court litigation. Why companies are opting for arbitration? Because this is quicker, this costs less, right? So they opt for arbitration. But the decision is binding. Then they cannot challenge this in the court. Is there any drawback for arbitration? The arbitration is expensive when compared to negotiation, mediation or conciliation. And the decision is hard to appeal. That is the problem of arbitration. I won't say problem, it can be a disadvantage in that sense. Now let's look at what is lok-adalat. Lok-adalat is also known as people's courts. In India, we also have lok-adalats or people's courts. This is a peculiarity of India. If you look at the other countries, they may not have a mechanism like lok-adalat. Many countries have the other alternate dispute resolution processes. But India, in addition to the negotiation, mediation, conciliation and arbitration, we also have lok-adalat. These are organized by legal authorities to resolve disputes to compromise. What are the advantages of lok-adalats? They are quick, they are cost effective, and the decisions are binding. Remember this, the decisions are binding. if you want an example, I can give one. Like, imagine two farmers disputing over a land boundary. There is a land and there is a dispute between farmer A and farmer B over a boundary, over the land boundary. Then a lok-adalat session can help them reach a settlement, and that settlement is legally enforceable. Now, if you want to understand the key differences between mediation and conciliation, let's quickly compare mediation and conciliation, as they are often confused. In case of mediation, the role of the third party is to facilitate communication. But in case of conciliation, the role of the third party is to suggest solutions. That is the first thing that you should remember. So what is the role of the third party in case of mediation? To facilitate communication. But in case of conciliation, the role of the third party is to suggest solutions. And now, with respect to the outcome, what is the difference between mediation and conciliation? In mediation, the outcome of the outcome of the process is that the parties themselves decide the solution. But in conciliation, the third party give proposals to guide the outcome. That is the difference. I hope that's clear, right? So, in case of mediation, the parties themselves take the decision or solution. They find the solution, decide the solution. But in case of conciliation, the third party, that is the conciliator, can give proposals which can guide the outcome. That is the difference. And the another aspect which you have to remember when you think about mediation and conciliation is that mediation can be applied usually in case of family disputes, workplace disputes, etc. While conciliation is usually applied in case of consumer disputes, labor disputes, etc. Now let's learn about the advantages and disadvantages of these alternate dispute resolution mechanisms. What are the advantages? Why we are using the ADR mechanisms? First, it saves time. We know the usual court procedures, it takes a lot of time. But if you go in this route, it saves time. Second, it saves money. You can save money because this is cost effective. The third is that it maintains confidentiality. The processes are mostly confidential. It is not out in the public domain. So it maintains confidentiality. That is another thing. Then another thing is that it preserves relationships. It usually is between, consider negotiation, it's between only two parties, right? So, and in case of a mediation or conciliation or even arbitration, it usually helps in preserving relationship because they will arrive at a settlement or a compromise. So that helps in preserving relationships. And further, it offers flexibility in the sense that usually, in the negotiation or mediation or a conciliation, it's up to the party to decide whether they should accept that decision, right? In case of arbitration, the decision is binding. I understand. Lok-adalat is also binding. But with respect to the first three mechanisms, it gives flexibility. It's open to the parties whether to accept it or not. But once they accept it and if they enter into a contract after that as a settlement deed, then it's kind of final. But before that, they have choice whether to accept it or not. But in the usual court procedures, they do not have that choice. Once they go to the court, the decision of the judge is binding on them. They cannot give any suggestions or something like that to the judge. Now, what about the disadvantages of the ADR systems? The disadvantage is that this is not a perfect system. There are some challenges. One thing with respect to arbitration, since it is similar to the usual court proceedings, the decisions are binding and it is hard to appeal in case of arbitration. And if you take negotiation, there are only two parties, right? Then they are trying to negotiate. In this case, that requires mutual cooperation. There is a dispute. At that time itself, the relationship is strained. But in that scenario, they have to come and try to make a negotiation, which may not be easy because that negotiation requires a mutual cooperation. Now, with respect to the mediation and conciliation, the problem is that unless the decision is finalized or formalized into a settlement deed, these are not binding. So that is the case. I mean, because these are not formal things. These are informal things. So these are not binding. The decisions are not binding unless it is formalized. So that is the case. Now, I hope you have understood this, but if you need a story, I can tell a story of ADR in action. Let's say two companies, A and B, they have a dispute over a partnership agreement. There are two companies, company A, company B, and they had an agreement, which is a partnership agreement, but now they have a dispute. So instead of going for a costly legal battle, they can opt for any of the ADR mechanisms. Now think that they opted for the mediation mechanism. They pulled a mediator, a third party, to settle matters between them. The mediator helped them and identify the main issues and find a solution, and that solution benefited both. What is the benefits of this? Both companies saved months of time and thousands of legal fees. I'm just telling a practical scenario, like that is the reason why we are studying ADR. So as a conclusion, what I want to tell you is that alternate dispute resolution is a game changer. It is not just about resolving disputes, but doing so in a way that saves time, money, and relationships. That is the main thing, right? Because we know our courts are burdened with a lot of cases. It takes a lot of time, effort, money if we go in the usual legal route. This is another alternative route which helps us to save time, money, and relationships. Whether you are in business, law, or community work, ADR is a skill you want to understand. That is the case. This is an important skill. Now, if you found this video useful, don't forget to like, share, or subscribe. Comment below with your questions about ADR, or tell us how you've seen it work in real life. I would love to hear from you.